Alright, hello class. Today we're going to be looking at part 3 of our timeline, military technology and everyday objects. As you can see, this is our timeline for Tuesday, March 25th. We're going to span approximately 600 years from 700 CE to about 1300 CE, so a more modern time span than the last couple timelines have been, but that's primarily when different aspects of Chinese technology and everyday objects really took full bloom and developed. So we're just working our way back across till we finally get here to the year 700 CE, where we see the mechanical clock. So the mechanical clock is created during this time. It used water that would drop and kind of rotate the clock, and then it'd make a full turn every 24 hours. I think every 15 minutes or so it would beat a drum, and then every hour a bell would go off, so similar in many ways to a modern-day mechanical clock. Again, looking at the Chinese symbol, which we'll do a little bit of writing with in class. We move down, and arguably the most important thing to know about the mechanical clock is that it provided a more accurate reading than the sundial and the hourglass. So more precise than anything that had existed beforehand, and it became a very desirable object outside of China, and the Europeans really later on became obsessed with these mechanical clocks and their design. So 800 CE, we touched on this a little bit yesterday. Playing cards are invented, again keeping in mind one of our major concepts that a lot of these objects were not common in Europe, and for the playing cards in particular, not till about the 1300s. As you can see, Mr. Rammer made a little bit of a spelling mistake, but that happens to everybody. Next, we'll shift over to about 850 CE, and we'll talk about Chinese alchemists discovering gunpowder. The discovery of gunpowder was in no way, shape, or form planned. Alchemists were trying to create a immortality potion by mixing saltpeter, sulfur, and a couple other materials, and eventually they realized that this was much more dangerous than they had originally planned, and the Chinese found out that they really could use that for gunpowder. 900 CE, the Chinese create the first weapon using gunpowder, and what they made was a flamethrower. So as you can imagine, this was far more advanced than anything else that had existed during this time, more than the crossbow, traditional bow and arrow, and it kind of wreaked havoc on whoever the Chinese decided to use it against. One of the things about the kind of flamethrower that they fine-tuned was they made it continuous, so there was no stopping. They alternated kind of the pistons inside that would put out more gunpowder, and it was just a continuous flamethrower, kind of the most modern weapon of that time. So now we're going to look at a 300-year span between approximately 1000 and 1300 CE. So to begin with, catapults are created, and they launch artillery shells and what were similar to kind of modern-day grenades. They also began to create weapons similar to the rifle that will later become popular in Europe and North America. The crossbow, as we know, had been incredibly deadly in China for hundreds of years. They continued to fine-tune that. The most important thing to remember when it comes to the gunpowder is that it has revolutionized warfare ever since. It made it more destructive and more harmful to society. Lastly, rockets were created. The rockets that were created by the Chinese are actually really cool. What they did is there were two steps. So one would propel the rocket basically like over the enemy's fence or whatever it may be, their castle, whatever, and it would drop arrows down after that. So this two-step process, extremely complex, but again demonstrates the advancement of Chinese society, in particular through military technology. So that wraps up our next section in Chapter 18. If you have any questions, let me know. Take care, guys.